Can everybody hear me? Okay, welcome. Welcome to the premiere of Finding Noah. I want to thank Todd, he's the manager. Thank you for Regal Theater for hosting Finding Noah tonight. Thank you so much, Todd. Thank you for rolling out the red carpet for us. We have the theater to ourselves after the show, okay? So what I would like for you to do, because we're going to have fun tonight, I've got exclusive things just for this theater and just for you for being here and supporting Finding Noah. So we didn't have time beforehand, so afterwards, those who can stay, we're going to be right here. Who am I? For those who don't know, I'm Dr. Aaron Judkins. I'm the associate producer of Finding Noah. I'm also one of the archaeologists you'll see in the film. Okay, please don't boo me and throw popcorn at the screen. Okay, I'm sitting right down there, so don't tug on me because I'm going to enjoy this movie with you. Okay, I saw with a handful of cast and crew and family last December, we had the screening for Finding Noah in Dallas. We decided to make a few changes, add some things, take away some things. So I have not seen this final cut because I wanted to enjoy it with you. Okay? So we're going to have a lot of fun. Please stay. So the drawing, we're going to have a lot of fun, and we got so much stuff to give away. Okay? So please stay for the drawing. We'll have that. Now I should say, right after the movie, there's a 30-minute segment. It's a question and answer period with Dr. Randall Price. He's the lead archaeologist in the film director Brent Baum, and one of our explorers, Coldren. Stay for that because it's only 20 to 30 minutes. I haven't seen it either. But stay for that. After that runs, then we will set up right here in front, okay? So we'll do the drawings, the giveaways. I'll be signing. We'll take pictures. We're just going to have a lot of fun tonight, aren't we? How many are here with the promise? Raise your hand. Thank you so much. In your brochures, you have a 50% off promise ticket exclusive to tomorrow night at the Promise in Glen Rose. They never do this. This is for you, okay? So if you can get away tomorrow night, you get 50% off. That's in your brochures, all right? But it's only good for tomorrow night. If you can't get there, give it to someone who can. So we really wanted to roll the red carpet out for you, okay? So this theater has sold out. This is a sellout show, all right? Wichita Falls was close to selling out. College Station was close to selling out. Other theaters around the U.S. with other explorers in the film at their theaters are selling out. And we need this. We need the Christian support because this is a grassroots effort. Climbing the mountain was only half the job, right? Because we had to produce a film. And let me tell you, this is not easy to get this to the screen. I promise you, this was so difficult. We overcome every obstacle to get this to 640 screens across the country tonight. One night, 640 screens. Isn't that amazing? It's the largest documentary release in history. The largest documentary release. We can't compete with the big guys on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. But we got one night in the theaters Thursday night, okay? So after this, it will go to DVD release and all the normal channels are early 2016. All right? So real quick, it's produced by Brent Baum, the director Brent Baum. He's directed a number of movies in Hollywood. Produced by Matthew Marsden. He's been in Transformers, Black Hawk Down, a number of movies. He was a guy with a cast on his arm in Black Hawk Down. That's Matthew Marsden. And then narrated by Gary Sinise. Can you believe this? Gary Sinise narrated this movie. Come on. And the Christian Australian band For King and Country did 3 soundtracks for us exclusively for this movie. King and Country, you're going to hear that, okay? So we're going to have a fun time. Thank you so much for coming out. One of our themes is, what is your mountain? That's on your commemorative ticket. What is your mountain? Because, see, this is more than just a film. This is going to be ongoing. I want you to know that men that have hearts of lions are in this film. okay? These are normal people who stepped out of their everyday role of everyday life, left their family for almost 2 months at risk of their own life to go do what we did. These are those kind of men. And this film documents and chronicles the journey of finding Noah. So I want you to go to findingnoah.com, because some of these men have ministries. Holt Cullen, I just said, you'll see him in the film. He's got a ministry called Surf the Woods. You need to know about that. Kevin DeVries, who you'll see in the film, is writing a book on this. He needs help. You'll see that. Not on the film, but I want you to go, if you haven't gone to findingnoah.com, go and learn about these other guys and their great ministries. Bruce Hall, who's one of our archaeologists, he was my, how many know Bruce Hall? Yeah, he was my tent mate on the mountain. Okay, we won't, okay. It was a lot of fun. Special thank you to Dr. Carl Ball, the Creation Evidence Museum. Thank you, Dr. Ball. Dr. Ball has been my mentor for 20 years. 20 years. Our family has served at the Creation Evidence Museum. Now, Tannen's only 12, but we've been up there for 20 years helping Dr. Ball build that ministry, and we've done everything we could to help Dr. Ball. Thank you so much, Dr. Ball. We love you. Dr. Ball's going to be in the film. He only got 2 minutes. I tried to get you more, Dr. Ball, but... All right, all right. Are you ready for Finding Noah? Yeah. How many staying afterwards? Please raise your hand. Oh, come on, raise your hand. Stay after. I went through a lot of trouble for you. All right. Thank you so much. We're going to roll Finding Noah, and please remember to stay. We're going to have a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming out. Family, friends, fans who supported me directly, thank you so much. It takes a real effort to do this. I didn't do this by myself, as you know. It takes a real effort. Some friends I haven't seen for a long time. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming out. Thank you again to Regal and Todd. Thank you so much. Okay, who's ready? All right. Lights, camera, and action. When people ask us if we found something, the answer is yes, but it's not the wood we were hoping for. The samples do look like they're bituminous material, which means organic. The pitch, we think, is either a tar-based, or it could be, there's another word in the Hebrew that means crystalline. And so we think it may be a resin, like a tree resin, instead of tar. We don't know for sure, but even tree resin would be organic. So if they use tree resin, it could be within and without, as you know. So that sample is, because it's so minute and it's very fragile, we've elected not to test it, because if we test it, it destroys it. So what we're hoping to do is that if we can get some samples from another spot, see, we think that the ark is in 3 or maybe 4 places. So if we can test another sample that matches that sample, then we know the ark was there. It just slid down in the ice. You see what I'm saying? So it would be a match. So we can say, yes, it was on the Eastern Plateau at one point. So because it's so fragile, we can't, we're electing not to test it because it'll be destroyed. So what we're hoping to do is gain some more samples from some of these secondary sites and then see if they match up. Does that make sense? Okay.
When would you do that?
If we can get back over, there's current fighting between the Kurds and the Turkish military again. When we were there was a truce. That truce held. Now the Kurds are trying to keep ISIS out of Turkey. And so probably a lot of those guys that you saw in the film may be on the front lines. I don't know if any of them are alive right now, to be honest with you. So they're doing their best. Turkey, how do I say this? Turkey don't care about the Kurds, and they're really not doing anything to help keep ISIS out. and the Kurds are doing everything they can to do that. So they're putting their lives on the line for sure. So I don't know if we can get back over there right now. It's pretty tough. Okay, Scott.
I subscribe to investing magazine that comes in electronically, and I got one just 2 days ago that was talking about some sort of cure that was found in a recent expedition on Mount Ararat for a pandemic. And I was wondering if you knew anything about that. I was wondering if it had something to do with your sample core.
Oh, no, I don't know anything about that, but I'd be interested in getting some more information. No, it wouldn't have anything to do with our sample core. I haven't heard that, but I'd be interested in knowing more.
I've got it on the phone. I'll show it to you later.
Okay. All right. Yes, way in the back.
How long did it take you to walk down to the top?
10 hours.
Is it a one-day thing?
Yeah. It took me a week to summit, but I wanted off that mountain. And so I didn't stop it. I stopped at one of the camps so I can get out of my ice gear and my ice stuff, my Arctic clothing. There's just nowhere to go. You just right there on the trail, But change into, your other shoes, get off your ice boots and get out of it because it starts getting warmer as you go down. So I stopped. We had some goat cheese and some olives and some stale bread and some hot chai tea, which is actually good. I kind of miss that. and then we maybe an hour, and then I was back down. So you saw me limping at the end there, and we walked. See, because the PKK, which is the Kurdish freedom fighters, will not allow vehicles past a certain point. That's why we had to walk so far. So after I descended the mountain, I still had to walk about 5 miles to the pickup vehicle because they couldn't come any further. And but I wanted off the mountain, and my knee and my feet were just they were pretty rough. So I hobbled in the last 5 miles, but I wanted off. And when we got back to the main camp, you saw the main camp there with the vehicles, and when we got back to the main camp, we all came in at different times, and of course, if you get little chicken or lamb chops, you're just, wow, that's what a treat, So, we were able to do that, and then Brent, the director, he says, Aaron, we have, everyone's going to get a Turkish bath in Dağ and you're set up. And I said, I haven't had a bath in 3 weeks, let's go. So I went down there, and that was the worst experience of my life, other than climbing that mountain. I don't recommend it, but I told Bruce Hall when he came down, I said, Bruce, man, that Turkish bath, come on, we got to go, man. This is all you. It's a 3-hour ordeal. And I'm telling you, that little Kurdish man, he put a new hurt on me. I don't know how he did it, but I was in a pretzel, and I think he enjoyed it. My toes curled a few times. I wanted to scream. I think he was trying to make me. But the best part, after you get out of that, the best part was laying on the heated marble that they had. And they said, oh, lay down over here. I said, I don't want to lay down anywhere. They said, Phil. And I was like, wow. So I got it. And that was the best part because you just melt like butter on that thing. And, and then when you're out, you are scrubbed clean. You don't do anything. Those guys, it's weird. Okay, it's weird. That's all I have to say. I had to close my eyes and thinking, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing this. But I was clean, and it took all that to get all the grime off. It was rough. But you feel better, and then you actually rest better, so. Anybody else? Okay.
How come you all came in at different times?
Well, because she wants to know how come we all came in at different times. Because various people went down at various times. Like the film director and a few other guys went down because we had the majority of the shooting done. So we left a few camera guys up there. And it was just each to their own. Okay, we're going to go down this day because it's good weather day. So we're going to go ahead and head on down. And we left a core group of guys. That was Bruce Hall, the drill team. Bill and Will, the father and son team, and those guys stayed up there with a couple of the Kurds and a few like one camera guy or two camera guys. I can't remember now, but there was probably half a dozen people that stayed up about a week longer just to finish out the grid that we had established, and so those guys would call down on the satellite phone, and what we didn't show you, we did show you at the very beginning, we actually went into Armenia. Now what some people don't know is that, well, Brent mentioned this in the Q&A. When that first team went down, they were surrounded by the PKK. There was about 50 of them. They know you're on the mountain at all times. But these guys don't play. This is real life. And they surrounded part of our team with machine guns. And there's a lot in the film you didn't see. Some of this may come out on the DVD in early 2016. I don't know, but they wanted their tax, and we didn't have any money for tax. We paid all the money for the Kurds. Everybody needs something. That's how they survive. So we had to pay the Kurds. We had to pay for the horses separately to get the equipment and the food and all that up there. But these guys, the PKK, wanted their tax, and they wanted $600,000. And we said, we don't have $600,000 to give you. And they had heard erroneous reports. And so they very graciously let our team go. But John McIntosh, who you saw on the film, when he was climbing in the 80s, the PKK wasn't so friendly. And they were woken up, rousted out of their tents at 6 a.m. He woke up with a machine gun pointed in his tent. They got him all out of their tents. They made them take off their boots. They tore down their tents and took all their camera gear, put it in a pile, and burned it. And then they forced them off the mountain without their boots. So these guys don't play. And when they say, you're off the mountain, you're off the mountain. If they say, you don't go here, you don't go there. So we had to play in a very fine line with them. They actually at one point told us no more people on the mountain. We said, we still got 3 guys on the top. They said, we know, they're okay. But no more people on the mountain. We tried to get back around to the Armenia side to get on the Hor Gorge, and they would not permit it. Because they militarily control the mountain, and they make the decisions there. So we just have to play by their rules, and that's just part of it. So when we started going into Dagobah Isaac, one of our local Kurd guys that were with us told us, okay, we can't go down there by ourselves anymore. We have to go in as a group, as a large group. And then we were told, okay, we can't even go into town. We kept having a certain vehicle follow us. It was a white Benz, of all things. And it stuck out like a sore thumb in eastern Turkey. And anytime we'd go into town, this white Benz would follow us. And we learned later that Al-Qaeda operatives were following us. And they said, okay, no more going into town. And then they came back the next day and said, okay, you got to leave town. And you got to leave for a week. So we decided this is a good opportunity to go to Armenia. And you can't just simply go across the border, because the border between Turkey and Armenia is closed, because the Armenians are still upset, and rightly so, because Turkey had one of the first genocides of the 20th century against the Armenians. And they went in there and just wiped everybody out. Most people know about the Holocaust of World War II. Most people don't know about the Holocaust of the Armenians. So there's still tension there. So that border's closed. You have to go through a 12-hour detour all the way around into Georgia, and then go through Georgia into Armenia. Armenia is a beautiful place, by the way. I was pleasantly surprised. 15th century monasteries, it's like real Indiana Jones stuff. I just took off my hat, threw it on the ground, and picked it up just because you go through these Gothic 15th century monasteries. And Kevin DeVries, he was one of the mountaineers in the film. Kevin and I went through this and there's no electricity. You hear water dripping in the background. And you're going through these dark, Gothic, 50-foot ceilings. I mean, it's incredible how they did this. But the acoustics are so wonderful in there. And Kevin had this bright idea. He said, hey, let's do, how the monks do. Oh, no, no, yeah. So we did that, and people were coming by, and you can't see in the dark, so they're like, what in the world? But we had a lot of fun in there. I got tremendously sick, though. I don't know if it was from the water I drank coming off the monastery, or if it was some bad fruit, but I got anywhere I go, I get sick. Man, I got tremendously ill, though, coming back from Armenia. So much so that when the other guys came down the film, I couldn't even get out of bed to greet them. I was that ill. Matthew Marsden, our producer, he was one of the few guys that actually braved to come in my room and give me some soup, because I was almost hospitalized. It was bad. For 3 days I was so ill, and I don't know. It was just a bad thing. But I always get sick. When I went into Peru about 4 months later, I was there on another thing for about a month, and the film crew from Finding Noah said, hey, we're doing post-Ararat interviews. We want to come and interview you. Where are you going to be? And I was in Arizona flying at the time. And I said, well, come out to Arizona. But then I thought, wait a minute. They told me the date. And I said, I'm not even going to be in the States. They said, where are you going to be? I said, I'm going to be in Peru, at Machu Picchu. And they're like, what? So those guys came to Peru. And I said, I'm going to be here on this date. So when I finished my work in Peru and Bolivia, I went up to Machu Picchu, and they were there waiting on me. And I had 2 days in Machu Picchu, and I didn't even get to do what I wanted to do because the film crew dominate your time. Okay, we need you here, we need you there, and it's okay, don't go too far, try to run off. But we got to film, and so all that I think will be out on the DVD when Finding Noah comes out in early 2016. But those guys came and filmed me there. They said, we got tired of filming people in their offices and at their schools and their homes. You're the only guy out doing anything. And I said, well, I can sometimes. And I happened to be there on another assignment. So, you just never know. But when I was there in Peru for a month, and I thought, man, I haven't gotten sick. I've done really good. I was really careful. And my last day in Lima, I caught typhoid. And I thought I was going to die. I was by myself. I didn't have anybody with me. And I hobbled down to the local pharmacy. They call it chemistry, the chemist. Go down to the chemist. So I found a local chemist place, and I kept asking them, I need something. I'm asking for amoxicillin, and they kept handing me something for diarrhea. And I said, no, I need the... Finally, I got there. I just paid them $20. I didn't know what it was. They took it. I gobbled down one pill, down to a bottle of water, and then I went back to my room, and I didn't wake up till the next evening. And when I woke up, I'm like, where am I at? What am I doing? And then I looked at my watch, and I thought, February 2nd, and I was trying to remember why February 2nd was important, and it was because my international flight home left at 5 o'clock that morning, and it was 5 in the afternoon, and I had lost over 12 hours of time because I was still quite ill. I downed another amoxicillin, and I thought, no problem, I got travel insurance, I'll just call them up. But they're not having any of that. So Aeromexico did not work well with me. They forced me to buy another ticket at $1,000 at the last second. I had to wait 2 more days. I had to overnight another 2 days at the hotel, which money I didn't have. I couldn't eat. I finally got into my connecting flight at Mexico City, and they were late getting me to my connecting flight. I had 30 minutes to the gate to American Airlines. I rushed up to the gate. After you're dealing with, they need pesos for the bus, and all I had was Turkish liras, or English. I didn't have any pesos, and so I had to run back, find an ATM, pull out 100 pesos. I finally got, and what they told me wasn't right. It's one thing. I finally got to the connecting flight, and they said, we can't let you on the flight. And I said, you have got to let me on this flight. And she said, we can't. I said, it's still 30 minutes away. And she wouldn't let me. Why? Because they closed the gate at 30 minutes, and at the last second, they said no. I said, I have been terribly ill. It wasn't my fault. Long story short, I overnighted 12 hours in Mexico City airport on the dirty floor with no place to go. I had 1% battery on my phone. There was no plug-in. I hadn't eaten in 3 days. Now I'm not even going to go outside the hotel because you're in Mexico City. I don't know where safe. And I had already had some close calls in the Philippines and in Egypt. I was nearly kidnapped in the Philippines. I didn't tell my wife this. Are you listening? Oh no, she's right there. I narrowly avoided it. There's Islamic fundamentalist in the Philippines. They captured several years ago the Christian missionaries, and they held them for 1 year in the jungle. And the Philippine army came in for a rescue attempt after they found them, and they shot the missionary and killed her husband. And it's friendly fire, but they killed him because they just come rushing in. So I knew not to go out of the airport. So I sat on the dirty floor, and I'm thinking, God, what am I going to do now? Because I was. Have you ever been desperate? I was desperate. So I found a restaurant, and I said, maybe if I can just get some soup or something. So he set me down, and there was a plug. And I thought, wow, it works. So I took out my thing and plugged up my phone. So I said, I'm just going to eat some soup. So I ate some soup. And then I thought, well, that was pretty good. Maybe I'll have a main entree. So I ordered a main entree, and all the time my phone's charging, and I'm trying to drag out time, because I've got a TV, I've got a comfortable chair, I got to plug in, my phone's charging, and I'm eating. And I thought, well, that was pretty good, so I'm going to order something else. So I did, and they brought it. And he was like, this is weird, because I'm ordering this 5-course meal one stage at a time. And I got enough battery on my phone, and I made a call to Gary Thomas. He's right there. He's my best friend. And Gary works in the hotel business in Dallas. And I said, Gary, this is what's happened to me. And they had a Hotel Hilton in the airport, but they wanted, I don't know, $200 for, I had like 10 hours. And of course I didn't have the money. I turned around and walked out, and I called him, and in 20 minutes he called me back. He said, you have a room.
Thank God.
And I was like, thank God for friends, because that allowed me to go in and get a shower and crash on that bed. And they said, be back at the gate at 5:30. And so Gary got me that room. He texted me to see if I got it. I was out. Out. So I woke up, got to the gate, and you have to wait in line. I got up there, and she said, I'm sorry, sir, this flight's been canceled. And have you ever just been where you just been so despaired, you just give up, And I was like, I'd rather be back in Eastern Turkey than going through all this. And she said, but I got good news. She said, the weather in Dallas has delayed your flight. We had to cancel it. But she said, 7 a.m., I got you on another flight. So wheels up, 7 a.m., I almost came out of my seat jumping for joy when I left Mexico, because I wanted out. I wanted out of Mexico. Landed in Dallas, and man, it's always good to be home, isn't it? It's always good to be home. Any other questions? Someone? Okay. All right, Phyllis?
Bring back a rock.
Did I bring back a rock? You know me. I'm picking up rocks. I'm out in northern Arizona picking up rocks, Yes, I asked Tannen, who's right here. Tannen's my son. And, when you're a parent, things change, right? And I wasn't used to Tannen chiming in on my conversations, giving his opinion. And so I'm talking to Robin about this. I said, this is the last major push for the Ark. I've got to go. I don't know how I'm going to go, but I've got to go. This is it. It's once in a lifetime. And it turns out, what people don't know, it cost us over $500,000 just to fund the expedition. That's not including the film. That's just the expedition. That's to pay for the permit. It's to pay for the Kurds and the horses and everybody in between, because you got to pay for everybody from the top to the bottom, right? So I was talking to Robin about going, and of course the film crew said, we got money, we're paid, because I didn't have $5,000 for my gear. My tent was $1,500, my sleeping bag was $1,500 alone. And a tent from Walmart don't work up there. You will die the first night. And so they said, this is the list. I didn't know what to get. Gary went with me to REI in Dallas, and I was pushing the cart, and I had about 4 pages, and I said, this, throwing stuff in the cart, didn't even look at the price. And I kind of pulled a prank. I got up to the counter, the thing's overflowing, right? Because you got to have food and you got to have all the gear. And most of the ice gear, the Arctic gear that I needed, it was in the summer, they didn't have. So I had a special order from England. And my Arctic coat that you saw me wearing, the red coat that's on the carts, I didn't have that. And they said, where's your coat? And I said, this is all I got. They said, you're going to die up there. And I told Robin, I said, if that coat comes in from England, mail it to Don Patton in Arkansas. I called Don, I said, if that coat comes, send it to Dagabazit, Turkey. And went from there, from Dagabazit, from Istanbul, on another plane to Dagabazit, on a truck to camp. From the camp, on a truck to the Mount Ararat base camp. From the base camp, on a horse, all the way up to 14,000 feet. And the day before I summited, my coat came on a horse. And they said, Dr. Judkins? I said, yes. They said, here, open it up, and there's my red coat. It was like a Christmas present. And I thought, man, because I'm summiting in the morning, that coat came just in time. So, so going back to, well, where was I going with all that? The rocks. So I'm like Dr. Ball, I go off on these trails. So I'm talking to Robin about going. They said, you got your equipment paid for and your flight. I said, I'm in. I'm always in. And I said, I don't know, there's a lot of dangers, and this is not going to be a vacation. As some of my teammates, they tease me, we're going to go watch your vacation. That's real funny, because that's not a vacation. We went there to work. And yes, when we got done, I did go to the capital of Ankara, to the Hittite Museum. I had a couple of days in Istanbul, but that was the only downtime I had. We were working. And so I'm talking to Robin about the dangers of the climb, because see, the guy from Scotland that you saw on the screen, his brother went missing 4 years ago. He's never been found and presumed dead. And the Kurds and the Turkey wouldn't go look for him because he was there without a permit. He was there by himself, and they found his vehicle, and that's it. That's a sad thing, but he either fell down a crevasse and is gone. If you fall down a crevasse, you're gone. There's no getting you back if it's deep, and they are deep. I'll talk about that in a minute. Or he fell off the Horror Gorge and the winds pushed him, and then he fell several thousand feet to his death, but he'll never probably be found. It's a shame. Tannen chimed, he was listening around the corner, and he goes, Dad, I don't think you should go. And I looked and I thought, what? Because now he's hearing everything, right? And he goes, I don't think you should go. And I said, well, sometimes you have to weigh the risk and the benefits, and the benefit is to find the ark. And we can modify the risk as much as we can. Most people know I fly on helicopters as well. My buddies died in a helicopter crash last year. I pulled them out, and they died. Things happen in life. That's why I was saying, what's your mountain? Because we got a lot of mountains in life. And I said, look, it's going to be okay. Even if Daddy doesn't come home, the Lord has all this in his hands. So I said, what do you want me to bring back? Because he likes rocks. And I said, you want a rock? And he goes, Dad, I just want you to come home. He didn't ask for a rock. But I brought down some rock core samples that you saw. I brought some of the core samples and some of the rocks back, because it's basalt rock with feldspar. And I brought back some of the rocks. And some of those rocks you can see at the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose. They're on display with the Texas flag that I flew. You didn't see that on the film, but it's in the journal. I flew it upside down. My Texas pride going downhill. I didn't even know it too, because that first day we summited, you saw how miserable the weather was. It was white out. I was like, I got to pull my flag out and get a picture. And one of the guys said, hurry up, because you got to take off your gloves to operate the camera. And I just whipped it out. Okay, we got the picture, put it back in. And I actually lost it because you can't feel your fingers. And my flag went down the mountain. And I thought, man, I had to dive to get it. Once it goes, it goes. So on the way down, the weather was clear. It was a beautiful day, sunny, totally opposite of what I was used to. Came down, I said, wow, great weather, let's get a picture. I pulled out my flag, I flew it. Had time to pose and had time to stop and rest and enjoy. And just looking out like you're flying at 17,000 feet, you're like, wow, this is beautiful. I had my rocks, always come back with a rock, more than one. And I got down to the base camp, and about 3 days later, I'm going through my pictures, and the Texas flag is upside down again. I thought, Aaron, you idiot. What? How did I not notice? But I blame it all on hypoxia. I just, and listen, hypoxia is a real deal. One night, early in the morning, I woke up to a car horn, and it was so clear. I'm just like right there, and I'm like, who is honking their horn? I'm trying to sleep, and I was like, blink, blink. I'm on the summit of Mount Ararat, and the wind's whipping my tent. There's icicles hanging off, and you wake up gasping for air. Many nights I woke up gasping for air, and I thought, there's no cars up here, Aaron. It's hypoxia. Bruce Hall, who you saw in the film, Bruce is one of the ones that stayed up several extra days, and he was the one that thought he was eating a Snicker bar, and it was his ice pick, right? And Bruce at one point thought he was back in Cancun with his wife on the beach for their vacation. And they said, Bruce, you're not in Cancun. And they called me on the sat phone, and I said, if you don't get Bruce down before he can't walk on his own under his own power, it's going to be hard to get him down. So I said, we got to get him off the mountain tomorrow while he can still walk. So we got him down the mountain, and you saw how tired he was when he came down. I mean, he could barely stand up. I mean, barely. And that's the way you feel when you come down. It is all you can do to stand. And you can see the toll it took on all of us, how just tired and fatigued, and I lost 17 pounds when I was on the mountain. Will lost 25 pounds, and he didn't have 25 pounds to lose. You saw how thin he was. I mean, I had 17 pounds to lose, though. I felt pretty good afterwards. I'm like, boy, I'm down to my high school weight. I really felt good. That was 175. I haven't been 175 since I was 18. I was like, boy, and then it just, okay, here it comes, it just starts coming back and you can't stop it. But I brought back rocks, and we have the core samples, but yeah, that's, I was telling about the dangers, about the Scottish climber disappearing. What it didn't show in the film is one of our camera guys was right in front of me, and I said, Dave, be careful, because these crevasses are blanketed by snow, and you think it's solid, and it's not. And as soon as I said it, he fell through a crevasse right in front of me. And it was about 6 foot, but he was able to brace himself, and it kept going. And, I mean, just boom, like that. I mean, he was at ground level, ice level, and he was trying to hold up this $70,000 camera. And I said, David, forget the camera, give me your hand, because he was hanging on for everything he was worth with his boots. And I said, give me your hand. And I grabbed the camera, and I grabbed his hand, and we pulled him out of there. But that thing kept going. Matter of fact, the crevasse they went down was 50 feet. So if you fall down that, you may die, you may not die, but you're going to break a leg probably, or two, and getting you out is going to be harsh. That's the dangers of Ararat. But 50 feet's nothing. Imagine 200 feet, you're gone. You are never found again. They cannot, even if they see you go down, you disappear. And some of those pools of water, they freeze at the bottom, and there's pools of water, and it's glacier water. And you hit the water, and as you know, when you hit cold water, you can't breathe. It takes your breath away. And then a lot of people just have heart attacks. and they just die, or they die of exposure. So hypothermia sets in, and within minutes you're going to be dead anyway. So lots of dangers on Ararat, but we got all of our team off the mountain safely. Anybody else? Okay, young man right there.
How did you get the strength to climb this mountain?
How did I get this strength? Well, that's a very good question. I trained for 3 months real hard. Now, I don't like to train. I don't like to exercise. I should. But I just don't like it, right? And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it, so I had to hire a personal trainer. And she cracked the whip on me. So she said, 7 a.m. at the gym. I mean, she put me through the ringer for 3 months. But I was so glad that I did it, because I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I just wasn't motivated enough by myself to do it. But she did. She motivated me for 3 months. And then as I started climbing the mountain, I was very thankful I did that 3 months. But then when I got to the point where I wanted to stop, then there's a point where you have to just reach down deep inside. And probably had it not been for Bill and Will, I don't know that because you're just, everything's screaming at you to go down and you're done. And Bill and Will said, you can make it, just keep going. And they waited. No one climbs that mountain. Now, Kevin and some of those guys are mountaineers, and they've summited all 7 summits. I'm talking K2 and Everest. Those guys are the real deal. They do that stuff for fun. I don't do that stuff for fun. But they stayed at my pace, and they just kept encouraging me to go. So I really give those guys a lot of credit. And that's the way it is in life sometimes. Sometimes you need help. You need a hand, you know. Good question. Anybody else?
I was kind of curious at what rate the ice might be moving and what implications that might bring upon actually being able to locate that structure if it's moving along with the ice.
Yeah, the ice on the summit moves kind of slow, but there's days where the sun came out and you can hear the water running under your feet. I fell through about a foot crevasse, and you can hear the water melting under your feet. So the ice changes daily. It changes daily. But down the Horror Gorge, once it goes off the Horror Gorge, I don't know how fast it moves, but it moves at a very fast pace. I think some glacierologists say that it can move, you know, as much as a foot or even several foot per day. So, yeah, it just changes all the time. It's in flux, you know. So that's why we think if the arc was there on the Eastern Plateau, it may have moved with the ice down the Horror Gorge. So that's what we're trying to look for. But the people don't understand that Horror Gorge is twice as deep as the Grand Canyon. And there's a 4,000 foot drop. So how do you do it? Do you go up from the bottom up, but then you got boulders the size of Volkswagens in the boulder field that could possibly get loose and just tumble down? You would never get out of the way in time. Or a rock was by your head in this hitch. I mean, so it's difficult either way. So people's gone up from the bottom up, and they've I mean, there's a lot of injuries on that side, you know. Donna D'Erico, that used to be with Baywatch, for some reason she's taken an interest on finding the Ark, and she was on the other side of the mountain. And, you know, she used to be a model. She fell, she was in the boulder field, she fell and busted up her face, and it was bad. I mean, they showed pictures later. She was really banged up and bruised up. So it's really dangerous on that side. If we can ever get a permit, we would like to go back on that side. But right now the fighting is so, you know, intense over there. It's hard to say if we can ever go back. But we're trying. You know, it just depends on if the Turkish government will allow us. You know, they've already barred some of the guys on the group. They've tried to make entry, and they've detained them and turned them around, actually. So, you know, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but you just don't. Sometimes you just get over there and they go no, you know. So it's always difficult working with government. departments like that because there's a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of red tape, and they can change their minds whenever they want to. So you just never know. Okay, anyone else? Y'all are the diehards. Anyone else? Oh, okay.
Like whenever the ice moved and was melting, did you have to like rearrange like everything that you were doing, like all your tents and
Did we have what?
did you have to like rearrange all your equipment to like accommodate?
Did we have to rearrange our equipment because of the melting ice?
Yeah.
Yes, and part of that because the ice would recede or melt back, and we had to re-anchor the ice screws to hold down the tent, because when the winds come at 70, 80, 90 miles an hour, it's going to go off the Hoary Gorge. So you have to ice screw everything in place. So every day we would have to re-anchor our ice screws and set them back in. So, yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for staying over. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming out.